you can see my tiny little face in the window here. And hello all. I am going to now be hiding myself behind the pretty slides for the program today. I am speaking from the coast of France, and it turns out that a nice, well-developed country like France has really poor internet in a lot of places. So my ability to do the slideshow and show you my video and hear my voice is limited. So I'm gonna wave goodbye and you can see my picture. I hope you can see a picture there. And I'm going to speak with you just by my voice, and we're gonna walk through the program together for the day. And we'll have some dialogue and I'll come on and off. If for some reason internet actually becomes unstable, my voice will turn into a much, much more lovely, soft voice of Meher's, and she will fill in. So we're going to be flexible as a tag team. And by the way, welcome to the new world of remote conversations and Zoom. This is becoming pretty standard fare for what we've seen happen in our lives. So here we are, the AIM iCREST program, and we're here to help you build a powerful, robust ecosystem for startups. And I'm bringing you back to this original concept to do two things. One is to re-express our appreciation for the partnership we're putting together here, and to set the sort of ground the stage for our conversation today and as we go forward. And it's important to just sort of remind ourselves of what we're trying to do and set the stage for the particular conversation we're having for people who may be just looking at this one session on video or have some questions about our program or process. So let me start off with acknowledgements next. So this is a really good collaboration. And the collaboration is of Niti Aayog, the Atoll Innovation Mission, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and the Wadhwani Foundation, and you. So this is a partnership of 80 people, of which you only see a few names here on the slide. But I want to remind you that you are also a partner in this, and we are deeply appreciative to partner with the AIM team at Niti Aayog and with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. But all of us at Wadhwani are particularly proud to partner with you on helping to build a much more powerful, effective, integrated ecosystem supporting startups, small businesses, and ultimately jobs in India and beyond. So as we talk about our program today, we're going to have a little bit of fun as investors. And I want to remind you a little bit about what we're trying to accomplish. If you remember in the prior session, we discussed the ability to look like, think like a investor. And I want to just remind you as we do a re-look at session 2, right? Are we on session 2 now? Session 1.
Session 2 then, yes.
We're on session 2 now. Session 1, our focus was to think about how an investor invests in a business. And we've had a couple of different comments during our open session that we have on Thursdays. We had about, I remember it was 35 people on our sort of open conversation question answer session that we have every week. And there are sort of two things that come up with regard to why we're spending so much time here. Some of you know the things we're talking about very well. And I think you already use some of this in your programs. Others have expressed an interest in understanding how an investor thinks more both for them and for their cohorts. And the other thing we've talked about very extensively is that this is not about how to pitch investors. It's about knowing your investor and building the right story to tell an investor so they do invest in your startups. And in telling that story, acting out the story, meaning actually implementing all the different areas of the business that investors look for, because investors know what works and they certainly know what doesn't work. So when they ask you all these questions, it's for very good reason and something for you to teach your cohort. And again, we've taught literally hundreds and hundreds of people and directly in cohorts all over the world. And the more they get to understand thinking like an investor, when they think that way, they really think about their business. And one of the things that happens is that as an entrepreneur and as an investor, there's this concept of return on investment. For every dollar I put in, what do I get back? And as an investor, the rule is I want to get back at least 10 times every dollar I spend. And they tell you, they want 10x, but they really want 100x. And someone can get 100 or 1,000x. But the point is that when I, as an entrepreneur, think like an investor, I am careful about everything that I do and what return on investment I get. And it helps me have the right framework, because as an entrepreneur, I'm focused on whatever fire is right in front of me I have to put out, whatever problem I have to solve, getting my product together, building the next feature, selling the next product, dealing with HR. And even if I'm working with HR or technology or anywhere else, when I'm thinking like an investor and saying, what is the highest return for my time, for what I'm doing, it changes the mindset of the people in the cohort. So for those of you who know all of this, and this may sound a little repetitive for you, but I hope some of these materials will actually be interesting for you to use with your cohorts as you walk them through and teach them about all this process. So next slide. I want to, okay, so we get this point here, right? It's not about what you get in the ability to sell a venture capital person. It's about thinking about your time. So that's really that comment here. And I'll remind you of the big stuff we had in the last session on next slide. And that is, there are a series of things that your startups will need to get. They'll need to develop. They'll need to begin to perfect. And they'll need to talk about when they talk to investors. So again, we're looking down from the investor point of view. We'll look up from the entrepreneur point of view after this process. I remember this program was originally designed for us to be in the same room together and spend long days together working through each of these things. So we're segmenting them into these shorter sessions online, given the circumstances today. But I want you to take a look at this slide and remember what's there. You were given this information from last session, that there's a set of critical success elements that I, as an investor, am looking for, and that you are looking for building in your cohort, in your investees. You're investing your time and energy and some of you dollars in your startups. So we want to develop the capacity of your cohort to get to green on this matrix. And several of you said, hey, I tried to read that while you were talking. Please don't read it. Don't read it here on the screen. We've sent it to you. Take it. We'll put it in a PDF form so you can print it. Many of our incubators, I think almost all of them, have a large printout on the wall in their studios, in their incubators, with this information on it, so that their entrepreneurs can go up and read it and say, am I and again, we call it novice to ninja. And the ninja is that dark green, right? So as a reminder, we are going to show you how to teach every one of these things to your cohorts. Again, some of you do this already naturally. Many of you have mentors and others who teach these things. but we're also going to give you very specific curriculum, toolkits, and workshop guides so you can teach your participants, your entrepreneurs, about each of these 12 areas of building a powerful, successful business in detail. So you'll be able to use as much of that as you like. And of course, we'll be giving you a technical platform that allows you to get at this stuff easily, and it allows your participants to log in and to get materials and look at things and watch a video series of curriculum that teaches them all about all of these different elements. So that's all what we've been talking about so far, and we usually have a lot of fun in our in-person sessions, and I hope we will end up together, this group having some in-person sessions for a day or two when the world gets back to a little bit more normalcy. So the thing we've really enjoyed is really acting like an investor and thinking like an investor and actually looking at investments. It really changes my mindset when I think from that point of view in terms of how I think about my entrepreneurs. So next slide. So let's talk about this idea of an investor checklist. This is something that comes up all the time. One of the things that I do is I teach a series of programs to VC investment firms around the world. And I have a fund of funds where we invest in venture funds in emerging markets that do impact investing. And so we teach our investment funds about this checklist. And we are teaching funds who've been in business for 10 years, they're on the third fund, and they still get deeply engaged in and really enjoy rethinking about these lists of questions that an investor asks. So from our point of view, you're going to learn some things that maybe you already know or that are kind of on your mind, but this is going to be very specific. What exactly do investors ask? What do they look for when they make an investment? And it's not the 4 things or the 8 things or 12 things that you read about in articles, that the articles tell your entrepreneurs. We have one checklist that's 250 questions that an investor has to ask in order to get their investment committee, their IC, to approve an investment. They have to document all of those things. And you'll notice on the IC we sent you here, the IC memo, it's pretty thorough. And it's looking at all the different issues on an investment. And when your entrepreneurs get an idea of how that investor and the investment organization invests in them, they really have a different appreciation. And again, hopefully they can tie that back to what they're building in their organization, because we're going to continue to remind your entrepreneurs that they are first and foremost an investor. They are the largest investor in their own business. They're investing their time and their own money and their career and their reputation, and sometimes their parents or their cousins or best friends' money and other people's money, but they end up with stock in their business. And ultimately, when that business is successful, that's what makes them wealthy. So these 100 questions that we're going to go through are a great opportunity for you to sort of log those. And again, put them up on the wall, talk about them with your cohort, and build your business around those 100 questions. So no, I'm not going to go through the 100 questions today. I'm going to sort of walk into a set of questions, and then we'll play with those questions when we get deeper in. And Meher, when do they get the list of the 100 questions?
At the end of today's session, Dan.
Oh, okay. So mark down who attended, who didn't attend, because they get this. That's the prize. All right, next slide. Let's dive in. So here's what a lot of people think. Investors, they're really looking for 4 things or 8 things or 12 things. And you can see dozens of articles on these from pundits who tell you about the things. But yeah, you can think about it from a cascading point of view. How do we look at things at the highest level? And then how do we broaden and go deep into each of the areas? So do you have a unique idea with high barriers to entry? That's how a lot of Silicon Valley people look at it. That's not necessarily how people look at it in a market like India, or particularly a second-tier market, because they don't understand the concept of high barriers to entry. Particularly, it's very difficult to know what those are, and many times it's not a unique area, but it's an area that's needed in a particular region, and there's a great business associated with it. The second question here is really important, which is how compelling of a value proposition does your product have? And we're going to spend a fair amount of time on that, because that turns out to be one of the key elements for sustained success, for investment, and also if you don't have it, for failure of a business. Many investors obviously look at market traction, and can they see a path to a profitable business? Is there a set of realistic projections that show that the unit economics work, that the cost of sales work, that the revenue you're bringing in are ultimately going to create what we call a business, and we define a business as a place that brings in more money than it spends. And we have number 4 here, but it's really number 1. And that is, do we have the team to execute? And, when I am on panels or I'm giving a keynote at investment conferences, people always ask me, so what are the 3 things you look for when you make an investment? I've made over 200 investments in various startup companies over the last 40 years, some of which are quite well known now because I got lucky and they got successful. And the 3 things I say are team, team, and team. For me as an investor, it's about the group of people who are assembled, who are ready to give their lives, their time, their focus, and attention to making sure this business works no matter what. And we're going to spend a lot of time on team, because you are going to be selecting specific startups for your incubator. And we're going to strongly recommend to you that you think about and design a program around getting a very wide net to get a lot of people interested in your incubator. And then for you to be very, very selective about the teams you actually bring in. Because ultimately you're going to be judged based on the number of people who are in your program, who come out and build a successful business. And you have to start with having entrepreneurs who have the capability and the desire and the passion and the complete commitment to building a business when they come into your incubator. So when I work with incubators, and I worked with a number of them over the last decade, and they continue, I work with them and talk to them regularly. And they keep coming back and saying, Daniel, the one thing that we continue to perfect, that we need to be better and better at, is our selection process. When we get the right information coming in, the right people coming in, we get the right results coming out. So you really need to think about that. Back to the questions. So here are 4 questions. Now let's dive a little deeper. Let's take a look at the next slide, which has another set of questions that are a little more focused, right? Meher, can you hear me okay?
Yes, Dan, I can. Should I go to the next slide?
Yes, please. Okay. This is, again, another way that investors think about this. Now, this is, again, very Silicon Valley. So think about it, how it fits in the context of your own program. But they're saying, is there a big market we can create or disrupt, and why? We can talk more about that. A lot of you guys are as experienced as I am, so I don't want to be telling you. If you're focusing on real venture businesses that have a chance to really scale big, looking at how big the market is what a lot of the VCs look at. The next is, does your team have what they call an unfair advantage? Is it the right team with the right technology, with a unique opportunity? So people, if you build a great business, can't be copied by 100 other people. Next is, what is the actual business model? And what will it take you to build that business model? What capital do you need to get there? How much capital do you need to raise now? And what are the milestones for inflection? Remember when we talked last session about the concept of inflection point? As an investor, I want to invest in one inflection point, but I want to know when the next inflection points of the business I'm investing in is going to come up. The inflection points are the points in which there is capital value increase. My equity increase happens at inflection points. And the question I'm going to ask as an investor is, will the amount of money I put in on this round get my investment to another inflection point? It's a problem if I invest money in a business at a certain value and they execute on that business and then they go out for another round of funding in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 2 years from now. And they are asking for the money at the same price I put my money in. There's a process of building equity value in a business, and that equity value increase happens at an inflection point. So if we want to talk more about that, what the milestones of inflection points look for, if you've got some of you like this and you want to go deeper, we can cover these in the sessions we have on Thursday. The next thing I'm going to look at is, what are the key risks? Remember, 75% of all the investments I make as an investor don't work out. So can I figure out how to figure out where the risks are so that I don't invest in those that aren't successful, or I support my investment in covering the risks that may exist that may cause them to trip and fall. And of course, as an investor, I'm looking at, what do I get in my potential return on investment? So that's the big summary of this. And then I'm going to take a little more time for you to think like an investor. I'm going to put your minds and your hats on as investors so you can share this with your cohorts. And by the way, a number of the incubators we work with actually have their cohorts, their entrepreneurs, do the exercise of being an investor and putting the hat of investor on and having them make investment decisions. And it's really fascinating to watch what happens with them and how a light goes on when they realize what investors look for as they think about their own business. Okay? All right, so let's dive in. Next slide, please. So we're going to think about the investment process itself, right? We just talked about the questions we ask, but a lot of your cohort members will say, well, so explain to me what happens in a VC. What happens in their mind? What happens in their office? What happens in their process? How did they decide to invest in me? Next. So I'm sorry, go back one more slide. Let me just make sure that you're all able to see this. This is just giving you a kind of a standard, typical progress of what happens in an investment. And that's cool. First meeting to term sheet negotiations to invest. Seems pretty straightforward. This can sometimes take 3 months or 6 months. And of course, you're going to have to get your entrepreneurs to understand that. So what happens in the first meeting sets the stage. And we'll spend a lot of time on this. And we'll teach you our techniques for teaching your entrepreneurs what we call to be pitch perfect, to know what to talk to your investors about. And it will be the same things we're talking about here. They'll just have a way to talk about it very efficiently and a very compelling way to get the investor to say, okay, I look at 100 investments for every one I make. And so your job is to get your entrepreneur to be that one. The first thing you have to do is have them pay attention. They'll hear 100 pitches, but they'll only look at 20 of them. So I have to make sure my pitch stands out. So from the first meeting on matters, right? So they go through this diligence of, is this interesting? Is it in our wheelhouse? Do we like this? And the first thing they get to is something called a go, no go decision. That's an early decision of, do I like these guys? Do I like the product? Is it in our investment area? Is there a big market opportunity? Does it seem like there's something interesting to pursue? So I'm going to make this decision fairly quickly as an investor. And that's the go, no go decision. I'm going to go back to my partner and say, hey, I'm looking at these guys. They do this and this and this. And my partner say, look, we've seen 100 of those. I don't see anything special here. Or, do they have this or that? And we're going to talk about what happens in that session. Then if they say, yeah, let's take a deeper look, they go through and they really get under the covers and they look deeply at all the elements and come back to their partners to do what's called a partner preview. The partners are going to ask all the hard questions of their investment committee, and they're going to get a lot more detail. And we're going to see some of the memos that we do. There's a go, no go memo, and there's a partner preview memo, and then there's the investment committee or IC memo. The interesting thing is that the partner preview memo is quite a bit longer than the next memo, which is the IC memo. The IC memo consolidates everything. But the partner preview is when we really decide as partners, do we want to put this in front of our committee? And we have to look at every detail. We don't want to show it to our IC because that will be confusing, but we want to make sure that we have a good look at everything, good and bad, to present to our investment committee. Okay, so let's talk about what happens in that process. Next slide. So I'm not going to spend the detail here because I've covered this with you in general, but if you want to have information about what is in each of these memos, and we're going to give you some detail in the next few slides, you have this to revert to. And again, you can use this in how you think about the businesses you build and whether they have answers to the questions that come up. So what are the questions that are asked at each level? If your entrepreneurs want to know, here's what we'll show them. Go to the next slide. So the first is that idea of GNG, go, no go. So they're going to look at sort of the investment, overview and background, product, market traction, management team, business and models, risk, financial analysis, impact assessment if they are impact investment, and again, not just the financial analysis, what's the model that is done by the investor. So you'll give me a model, if I'm an investor looking at one of your cohort members, they'll have a model, but I'll create my own model, which will be different than theirs. It'll be my analytic model. Now, these are things we look at here, but now look at the next slide. The next slide shows the same thing. It's the same set of areas, but if you look at the right-hand side of the slide, you'll see there's a lot more granular look. They dive the same questions, they dive closer into some of the key questions that are asked in each area. And the 100 questions we're going to give you today go into each of these areas more and more and more deeply. So they ask all the kinds of questions an investor asks. So, look at what's there and go to the next slide. And now let's look again at what we're going to look for the IC memo, right? So the summary now is the specific investment, the proposal, including the amount and the instrument. This is all going to be figured out in terms of what we're going to present in our term sheet. We haven't presented a term sheet to our investment yet. We're going to look at the business and the evolution of the business, where it's at. We're really going to dive into milestones. Our market validation is going to be traction. Do they have customers? Are the customers paying? How fast are they growing? How close are they to their projections of where they're going to end up being? Management team, not only are they capable, are they doing what they need to do, but we're going to start checking things out in the background. We're going to be back channeling and looking at the entrepreneur, looking at their performance, really getting comfortable with that team. We're going to be testing them in a lot of ways. Business model again, risk mitigants. Each of these are something that we dive into in a very granular way. And we have all the answers in our investment memo that we're going to give to our investment committee for them to review. The next slide is just a summary of all those things. Again, this is something that some people print out in big form, put up on the wall, and make sure that their entrepreneurs know how investors are going to think, what the investment process is. And of course, they're going to say, wait, I just want to know how they're going to give me money, when they're going to give me money, and at what valuation. And I know you're going to want to talk about valuation because your entrepreneurs ask all the time. You know, I saw in Silicon Valley that they had this slideshow and they got a $5 million pre-money value. And, you know, shouldn't I get a $2.5 million valuation? And there's a whole big discussion about that. So we're going to talk about how does an investor think about valuation, but we're not going to do that today. Today, we're going to talk about making an investment. And we're going to go all the way through the investment process as we go forward. So I'm going to pause here. And please put your hands on your computer and get ready to click your unmute button. And let's just see what we have in the way of thoughts, questions, comments. You think this is sort of on target or not? And what are your thoughts? What would you add? And what would you like further clarification on? Or what kind of other material would you like to support this whole process? Go ahead. I see Abhishek and Dr. Krishna and several others unmuting. So please feel free to chime in.
Hi, this is Krishna. In the
Hi, Krishna.
The last discussion, we said idea plus the team is the most important thing. So idea has a precedence over the team? For a viable
interesting.
business.
Yeah, so interesting question. Before I answer it, I'm going to let some other people unmute and answer it. Is it the idea or the team that's more important to you? What do you think? Just chime in.
Dan, I think idea, team, and the execution plan are all somewhat at the same level. At least, there has to be some coherence with the founding team to understand how they will scale. I mean, in an existing market where they want to basically disrupt an existing solution or a market, at that point, the execution is a lot important. So it just depends on what sort of industry we are talking here and what is the product. So,
okay.
I mean, if we looked at Uber, the taxi industry has been here for almost 120 years. So what did how they have disrupted that market was basically more important. And that is how, execution is also very important.
Yeah, but let me point out that they had incredible backers. In fact, a lot of their technology was actually built by their incubator tech team. And the investors in the team knew that if the team that was starting Uber didn't work out, they had the right to fire them and bring in their own entrepreneurs to run the business. I don't know that that's the case in India, right? So many times people will say, it's the idea, it's the market, is this big? But they aren't dealing with the same issues that we're dealing with in emerging markets. So other comments, Rinkesh or Prathana, any other comments on whether you think it's the team or the idea or the market opportunity?
Hi, Dan. Good morning. I would like to put it in this way. If it's a decent or a mediocre idea and the team and the execution are excellent, the venture is going to successfully bloom. But on the contrary, if the idea is superb, maybe very unique, but the team and the execution are subpar or not to the market level, then the venture is going to suffer. So I think that would...
And why is that? Talk to me some more about that, because you're talking about something very important here.
Because again, what is going to happen is that idea is something that can be chased upon. Idea is not, even if let's say it's unique to a certain time limit, I'm not sure that once an idea hits the market, I mean, there are people who might find more affinity towards it. And I mean, till it's in the development stage, like people are free to try it out. I mean, any idea once when it hits the market, then the competition is open. You cannot, I mean, keep the uniqueness of an idea to like after a certain period of time, until and unless you keep developing it in one way or the other, making tweaks in one way or the other. And that completely depends on how the team takes it or how the execution happens, over a period of time on that idea. So
I
ultimately,
like that. Yeah, I think that's really important and relevant. I'll comment about that in a second. I just first some more comments from other people.
And Monica, if I may jump in.
Yeah, please.
No, I just wanted to say that I've oftentimes seen during my 9 years as a investor in my journey that oftentimes if a product is not exactly what was imagined, would be solving a pain point for a customer, a good team often pivots really quickly. So therefore, to me, again, the team I think is really critical, because if the product is not what they imagined it to be, they can quickly pivot and tweak it. But if the team is not up there, then however good a product might be, it's not solving the pain point for a customer. And if it's just a nice to have versus a need to have, it might be hard for them to get around it.
So Monica just said several very important magic words, and I want to reemphasize her very important points here. One of those is pivot, right? And the other is, market fit, and the other is the entrepreneur's ability to see and adjust. And those are really, really important words. I've often talked about one of my latest investments that I am investing in, and I am a mentor to, called Zipline. Zipline, you can take a look at. It's now on the internet. That's actually the real name, and it's doing pretty well. But it is on its third business. It literally, the team was passionate about technology and drones and things like that, but they needed to find a business, a place that brought in more money than it spent, that had real value and unique position. They literally had to change their business 3 times. So their original business had a big market. It was a big idea, but a lot of entrepreneurs, they're just dogged about that idea, and they just keep trying, and they're okay with mediocre results. And a great team keeps asking, is this the right product? Is this the right market? Is this the right opportunity? And they are not afraid to be wrong, and they're not afraid to pivot. Any other?
Hey, Dan, this is Jeet from AIC Pinnacle. If I may add something.
Please.
Yes. So, one thing that we have followed primarily based on the experience that I had of running a fund in US is that we look at 5 C's in terms of the team. Because, the sequence will be team, technology, and traction. But within team, when we follow 5 C's, which is do they have the competencies that are needed for this? Do they have the capability to learn further? Do they have the character to go through the pivot and the challenges? And do they have the commitment? And do they have the completeness of the team? So, character, commitment, competency, capability, and completeness are the 5 factors we look at when we evaluate any deal for further consideration.
And do you look at all those 5 things when you look at the cohort members you bring into your incubator?
Yeah, because, being at a very early stage level in an incubator, we are always looking, you cannot make a donkey into a horse, but the idea is you find the horse at an early stage. So you find the right talented people, because India has a huge population, but finding the right talent, people who have the, commitment, passion, clarity of vision to actually execute. So we look at very much in depth, and we make them go through rigorous process to make sure that, over the 1 year that we'll be spending with them and giving them financial resources as well as intellectual resources and time, we want to make sure that there's a ROI on the time that's invested, because it's an opportunity cost that if we take someone, then we are not giving the space to somebody else. So
I love that. And you mentioned a 6th C, actually, clarity. That's
right.
That's not bad. I actually like that. So put that on your list. Right?
All right.
So Pradeep's going to get credit. He's going to send us the 6 C's.
I was just going to say, Pradeep,
yeah,
can you type that out into the chat box? It's a really interesting C's that you mentioned, and put in clarity also, and share it with us.
Yeah, this is Jeet. I'm using Pradeep's computer. He's sitting.
Oh, hi, Jeep. Yes, sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, he's sitting here with me, but I'll type it up. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, thanks, G.
Yeah, that's super important, and I love the fact that you're being selective of who you bring in. And here's what I'd like to know, Jeep, is of those 5 C's, there's some of those you can bring into that group, and some they have to come in with. So I'd like to know which of those you develop in your team members, and which of them, if they don't have it when they walk in the door, you're just not going to take them.
See, one thing that we have seen the big difference between India and US is that capability and competencies are there, at least from technical perspective, but the business ethics, the ethics of doing the business the right way, because you can get money today, but to grow a company in the longer term, you really need to put the governance mentality from the start. And that comes from the ethics. And that's what we try to teach them about. How do you deal with people in that transparent and proper way to make sure that you don't burn bridges and you build goodwill, which is your intangible value over time. And that's how we enable them and encourage them to engage with the investors in the community from a very early stage. So they build that rapport, they build that goodwill, and they build that which they can monetize later when they're actually raising funds. So they come with capabilities, but we build character.
So Meher, write down Jeep's and Pradeep's name and put them down for giving us some additional depth in how they go through that process and what they look for. And let's see if we can build on what they have in place, share it with the rest, and grow. Because I think the concept of building competencies and character are very important. Some of the character they either have or they don't. But many of the other competencies you need to bring out in your team members.
Yeah, because capacity building is what we focus on so much as incubators. I think the character and commitment needs to come in. And we can, of course, motivate. But yes, Dan, I'll work with them and we can definitely build maybe a framework. Or if they already have, we can see how we can share it with the rest of the group.
Yeah. So I want to go back to a really interesting point that was made, and other people may have a few more ideas on this. And that is, is it the idea, is it the market opportunity, the unique product, or the team? And it varies from place to place. Again, I started off because I happened to be born in this little orchard town that had nothing except for this little tiny place called Hewlett-Packard, nobody knew about at the time, called Palo Alto, right? So I started off there. That's just because of the luck of the birth draw on this life. But I've been all over the world, and it's really important that Jeep was talking about working in the U.S. in a fund, and then working in a fund in India, or working in a startup environment, and it's different. But one thing that remains clear is you're going to have, if you have an investment and you want it to be successful, you need to have those character elements in the team you bring in, because ultimately, even if you have a mediocre idea, a great team is going to adapt and shift that idea and make it go from a mediocre to a great opportunity.
So Dan, can we bring it back to the one that we're showing into the stages? Like, one of the questions I suppose everybody thinks is, how can we actually use this information on granularity with our startups as an incubator? If you want to talk about it, or if people have questions on how they can actually apply this whole thing.
Yeah, so I'll let people, anybody who wants to ask questions, do so. While they're getting ready and unmuting, let me just say that, yeah, go ahead.
Dan, my name is Dr. Patni, and I'm from AICPIF Indore. Time and again, and through my journey, and also while associating with AICPIF, we have all seen that when people come in, they do not have teams. They outsource the development, they outsource the marketing because they want to reach out to the kind of best people in the business, or because of the kind of cost constraints, but they have a brilliant idea. So my key question around here to you, and possibly others who can pitch in as well, is that how do we really value that kind of team which is outsourced partly or fully, apart from the kind of core founders, and how do we value the idea in that case?
Very, very interesting question. I have strong opinions, but I'm going to try to keep my mouth shut for a while and let other people chime in on that point. The floor is open. Anybody want to comment on that? Come on, you have an opinion.
I mean, I'm just jumping in and just on, in general, the outsourcing bit, at least at our end, the attitude has been that if the core part of the function has been outsourced, then we are a bit uncomfortable with that, right? So if it's a tech startup and the whole coding aspect of the function itself is outsourced, and there's no like CTO in the company either, then that's something we are uncomfortable with. But there have been situations where there's a CTO, there's a 3-people team, and then part of coding has been outsourced. That's something that's understandable. Similarly, for example, there's a food startup where the core R&D is in-house, but they have a contract manufacturer manufacturing the product for them. That makes sense because that allows them to scale. But on the other side, if the whole R&D itself for the food was outside, then that would be not cool with us. So I don't know.
So Pranay, let me play that back because I think it is a very important point there, and that is that outsourcing some elements of what you do. You can outsource some of the marketing or social media. You can outsource some of the contract manufacturing. But if you outsource one of the core elements of the business that you're relying on, and that outsource organization is a little lazy or doesn't think about it or doesn't deliver on time, and you have no control, you're only begging them and they're charging you more money, what kind of risk have you created in that business? And is that okay? Now, sometimes it's just necessary. And again, you're saying the original premise was I have a really strong founder with a really great idea, but they're not a marketer. They're not a technical people, so they outsource those things. What else do some of you other people think on that subject?
Dan, this is Sanjeev again. I think what we're talking about is not essentially just the kind of marketing or the outsourcing part of those kind of elements which are fringe, but also the kind of key components. I mean, today we talk about the RPO, the research process outsourcing, where the research part itself is outsourced to other organizations. I mean, what we are trying to think about is leveraging the best capability in the market, leveraging the best availability of technological excellence in the market as well. So it may be possible that the team is not able to really perform that much or not competent enough. But if we outsource, then we are outsourcing it to a kind of competent organization. So it's not just limited to a fringe outsourcing. It may be also related to core process outsourcing as well.
So let me just point out, just following through on your comment, that one of the most important things that your entrepreneur team does is listen. The better listener they are, the more successful their business is going to be. That's one of two things they are. One is they are a problem solver, and the other is they're a great listener. And so what you're saying is, look, I have the listeners in my team. I have the people who are constantly going out to my customer and saying, is this it? Is this it? Do you like it? Is it great? Do you love it? Are you going to tell your friends? And when the person says, yeah, it's good, you say, no, that's not good enough. It can't be good. It has to be spectacular. It has to be great. You need to have a lovable product. If you outsource the core of that, if you outsource the people, the passion of that, is this product a product that people love, tell their friends about, are going to keep, are going to put on top of their list. If you don't have that, and that's outsourced, if you have a marketing team that gets paid on marketing and not on results, what do you have?
Hi, Dan, Apur this side from AICGM. Can I add something here?
Yes, please.
So basically, doesn't it depends upon the stage of the startup as well? So for instance, if there's an entrepreneur with an idea, a tech idea, right, and they still want to just pilot it or develop an MVP of it, right? While of course it is advisable to have someone with that core competency on the team, but unless they pilot it in the market, show some results, how would they be able to attract the right kind of talent? Right. So up till a certain stage, I think it could be okay to outsource some of the parts of the business, right? So that at least they can attract the right kind of talent. So for instance, if there's a non-tech founder and want to do something and want to attract a CTO and have some kind of market traction or some kind of a market validation, so it's just similar to attracting an investor. I mean, this is something which we have seen in case of non-tech founders, and having a product in market significantly increases the chances of others joining them without having immediate financial benefit or looking immediate results.
So let's just stop and pause and look at a very important point you just made, and let's dive under that. And that is, how do we bring together the right core founders? This is a very, very important subject for us because we're in an emerging market where there isn't this massive pre-set, pre-organized, pre-educated group of potential tech founders. I can go to a meeting at Stanford University and I can have 250 tech guys show up very easily. Tech guys in SaaS, I can still have 250 people. Tech guys in AI, I can still have 250 people. If I'm in Jaipur and I want to have a meeting of tech people who do AI, if I can get 6 people in the room, I'm just delighted, right? It's just not the same. So what we need to really think about is, how do we build an ecosystem collectively with all of us, because we're all going to become partners in this process going forward. But even in each incubator, accelerator, what can be done to help bring in the right set of elements to circle around an idea, the right, we call it hustler, hacker, and visionary to begin with, and then the other team members that are engaged and passionate. And yes, if I am a marketing founder, I've got to sell technical guys on an investment in my company, right? The investment is they're going to stop working for a tech company and they're going to come work for me at a heck of a lot less than they were paid before. And they're going to work a lot harder, and they're going to work at night, and they're going to work on problems, and they're going to have to figure things out. So they are a huge investor. How do I convince them that they should become a co-founder? And that's very different than convincing them to come in and work for me, because the key, back to the original question that was asked, is how important is that core team versus the idea versus the market? And, running a business over time is really, really hard. Things happen and things break. And the team has to be there and be ready and be passionate and be flexible. And so having a rounded team that's powerful is critical. And I believe that one of the roles that I learned more and more when I was involved directly with incubators and accelerators in the US and in Europe is building. We're going to talk a lot about your focus on building your ecosystem, building everything around your businesses that you're going to incubate and accelerate. And I can just tell you that I continue to learn that the process of bringing in entrepreneurial investors, co-founders, connecting them together is very, very important. In fact, there's a very famous professor in San Francisco that has a program at the University of California, San Francisco there. And he has a program called Recombinating. And he has a class where he teaches entrepreneurship and startups, and he makes his teams come in and present, and then he takes them apart and puts them together, takes them apart and puts them together. And he realigns a lot of his students into co-founders. And he really cares about whether or not, I will not touch a team that doesn't have a hustler, a hacker, and a visionary in place. So the question is, how much do you have to do? Let's say you've got a hacker. In fact, you've got 4 hackers. This is very common. I got 4 great technical guys. And I have a visionary, but I don't have anybody who sells this stuff. So I'm going to assign one of my friends who's a technology guy, who's articulate. I'm going to say, you're in charge of marketing now. How successful is that really going to be when you don't have somebody who owns marketing? When I say own marketing, going out and hiring a marketing firm going out and even hiring a marketing executive is not enough, because things happen, and they happen in the middle of the night on a Saturday. And that person can't say, hey, that's not my job. They have to say, wait, this is my company. I'm up, I'm at it, I'm gonna fix this thing. I'm gonna bring stuff to our team. I'm gonna have the guts and fortitude and relationship with my technical guy to tell him that all that work he did on the technology is not right, and he has to change it. I may have to tell my technical partner, you have too many features. You spent all this time building this incredible code, but it's just confusing our customer, and our customer doesn't need it, they don't want it, they don't like it. So turn it off. That's the hard part of what has to happen. That's where you're going to teach your cohort members how to look at and understand those products. And trust me, I've had this very conversation with a guy named Steve in a big software company in Seattle, Washington, where we had an argument about the mobile phone that his company was building versus the mobile phone of another company also headed by a guy named Steve, and why that guy was going to win and he wasn't. And I was trying to explain to him that his phone had too many features and it was sucking up too much battery. And he just had a hard time hearing that. And the industry clobbered him over the head, cost him $2 billion to hear the right answer. So it doesn't matter whether it's the head of one of the biggest software companies in the world, or it's the head of one of your companies that you brought into your program. Your job is to help them think, listen, communicate with each other, make hard decisions. So I'm going to leave it there unless somebody has a burning thought or question, and go back to our fun exercise we're about to do.
I'll just add something, Dan, there to what Apurv asked. And I mean, just wanted to clarify that when I said that, like, if the core in some places are missing and those are outsourced, to me, when I was saying that, it's linked to the investment decision. You may still choose to incubate and, in that initial period of finding people, associating with them and bringing the core inside, you may still wish to support the startup. But I think when I was saying that for us, it's a no-go, it's for the investment decision when the core is not internal, then it's a no-go.
Yeah, so that's the same with me. In my funds, we will not invest in a company that any of those three areas, the technology, the go-to-market and sales strategy, and the business operations, if those aren't owned by a co-founder, even if they're brought in later, we will not invest. Okay, so let's see what you would invest in. All right, next slide where the fun begins. All right, you want to think like an investor? Be an investor. Try it out. We're going to give you time to spend with a group. We're going to parse you into these sub rooms. Good luck, tech team. And we have sent you already some pitch decks. And we've also sent you what is a sort of a typical IC memo. These are real investments that were really presented to an IC of a venture fund in India. And this is what they got. And they had to make a decision. So you got $10 million in your bank account, and you're going to become the IC, and you're going to convince each other on, would you invest in any of these? And if so, which one or ones, and how much? So we're going to break into groups for about 20 minutes, and you guys are going to talk to each other and see if you can come to a consensus, which is what we have to do in our venture funds. Some venture funds, by the way, make a decision based on a vote. If 51% of the partners believe this is a good investment, they go ahead. In our fund, it's consensus, means every single person has to agree on the investment and the amount. Takes a lot longer, it's a lot harder, but we have much better results. So you guys are going to do the consensus model. what are you guys going to come back with? So we're going to come back in about 20, 25 minutes. And
20
we're going
minutes, sorry Dan, I'm going to insist on 20 minutes because we are running a little late and we want to have a lot more discussions after everybody's made their decisions on who to invest in and how much. So we'll start off the breakout rooms, but could we stick to 20 minutes? Is that all right, Dan?
That's fine. I get caught in talking longer than our planned schedule. That's part of the process. So thank you for keeping us on track. Meher, why don't you give instructions on what's going to happen right now?
Yes, so we're going to start off the breakout rooms. A request, I'm sure everyone's read their IC memos and you've already have some personal choices on which company you'd like to invest in and why. The idea is to consolidate that decision with your group, the ones that you'll find yourself in the breakout rooms. And then at the end of it, once we come back into the main rooms, share your decision and then we'll have an active discussion on why you wanted to invest in those and the reasons behind it. So yes, that's it.
All right, here we go. Tech team, push the buttons. I'll see you guys on the other side in about 20 minutes.
Pratna?
Yes, Matt. I think that some of them are still here.
Yeah, I think Rama, Ravi, are you able to find your breakout rooms? Because you have been assigned. All right, they're going to that. What about you, Pratna? Are you going to stay in the main room?
Yeah, I'll be around in case someone comes back.
I'm not sure who is Firefly's note taker.
Yeah.
Hi, could you let us know which AIC you belong to, because then we can put you into a room.
Anybody else who's not been assigned rooms?
No, the ones I can see is only Firefly's AI note taker, but I think everyone else has been.
I see Vinay, Vijay Talwar.
Vijay, Vinay, are you having issues finding your breakout rooms?
No.
Vijay? All right. Okay. All right. Vinay, which AIC would you be part of?
Vinay is from AIM, Mayor.
Vinay is from AIM. Okay. So what I'm going to do is just assign him to one of the rooms because he's...
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, Vinay, I just assigned you to a room. You can go and join that room. Yeah.
Swaroop? Hi, Swaroop. Are you still here?
I think it says Swaroop Pandey has not joined. Maybe he's having some tech issues, but he has been assigned. Yeah.
Okay.
I think we're good.
Yeah.
Would you like to go join a room?
As you wish. Do you want?
I'm okay here. Yeah. I think.
Maybe after some time, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Okay. Hi, Apurva. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, hey, hi, Meher. I have unstable connection and I got
Which room were you in? Do you remember?
in room number 1, I think, with Gayatri.
Gayatri. Okay, I'm just putting you back there.
Mehak, can you add me to Naved's group? I just want to see.
Hi, Meher. Elizabeth here. So I had some connectivity issues and my call got dropped.
Right.
And I've rejoined and I think everybody's in breakout room.
Elizabeth, which group were you in? Can you tell me? Hello?
But yes, hi, Meher.
Yeah, which group were you in? Do you remember?
Yeah, Naved's group.
Naved's group, okay. Amit, would you also like to go back to your breakout group? Hi, Amit. Can you hear me? Hi, Apurv. Amit, have you fallen off from your breakout rooms? I can reassign you.
Yeah, sure, please.
Amit, which group were you in?
From the group 6, AICADT.
Okay.
Yeah.
Apurv, what about you?
Group 1.
All right.
Hello, Mayor, are you there?
Yeah, hi, Amit.
Yeah. Yeah, you have assigned me group number 5 because actually I'm in the group number 6.
Which group are you in now?
Now I have left from the group 5. You have already assigned to my colleague.
You want to go to 6, right?
Yeah.
All right, done.
Yeah, thanks.
Aishita, are you back from your breakout rooms? I'm going to close the rooms now.
Hi, Meher. Sorry, I didn't realize I was on mute. Yes, we just came back. We came to conclusions pretty smoothly, and we are back.
All right, so I'm going to give another minute, 12:30. I'll close the rooms. Yeah.
Sure, sure.
Because I saw all of you back here. I was wondering if you'd all gotten thrown out of your room. That's why.
No. We saw your message, but we left the room because we were done.
Okay. All right. I hope you got someone from the team assigned to present, and I'm going to request the videos, people to talk on videos, so the interaction can be better. I'm hoping. Yeah.
So Jaya, would you be able to switch on
I'm
your
here.
camera?
I'm hearing.
Yes, we see you.
Oh, hello. Hi. Great. Okay, I'm going to close all rooms.
Okay.
Is everyone back? No.
Yeah, it's another 10 seconds. They'll all be back. Because once I switch off the rooms, it gives them 60 seconds to get their things and come out. Yeah.
Hello.
Yes.
Finally, I got my voice back.
We lost you.
Yeah. Welcome back to the main room, everyone.
Seems like some connectivity issues were there, so I've now moved to a different spot.
Oh, okay.
So I was monitoring a few of the sets of conversation. Very interesting conversations. It does take a while to get started. And hopefully as we continue to do these kinds of things, you'll actually jump in a little bit sooner and faster so we can actually have better dialogue. This was a really fun exercise in person. We had some very dynamic conversations, battles on different aspects of the outcomes here. So I'd like to do two things. One, I'd like the groups to come back with what you thought of and where you're going to invest your money and how much. But also, each group comment just a little bit, and I'm going to ask the participants in the groups to comment on what did you think of the process? What was good? What was not good or different? And what did you take away from having the conversation and looking at the investments like this? So Meher, could you lead which groups, please?
Yes. I think Jaya and her group were back and they had made a decision. Jaya, and I may request that Dan, I don't know how good your bandwidth is. I know you said you're having issues, but if you can put your video on, it can become hopefully more interactive. Yeah, there you are, Dan. Hi. Jaya, would you like to put your video on and then maybe share the finding, share the decision from your group?
Yeah, shall I get what Ishita have given the points and ranking?
Sure, please. Yeah, please give us the score. Yeah. This would be great. Yeah, if you can share your scoring sheet and then tell us what your decision was.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you. Hello, Dan.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. We have considered all the critical success elements here, and we gone through 3 of the pitch decks which we have provided here, and according to that, we have given overall score 55 to doing time, and then healthy, and after that we didn't find very good pitch that much benefited, so we have given 30 to very good. So for roadmap, you can see LC got the 4,
So
Yeah,
actually,
we won't go through all the specific details, but let me ask you this, Jaya, just really quick. Did everybody in your group come to decisions based on walking through each of these elements, or did you guys make a decision on which you liked and then fill in the details later to justify your decision?
No,
How do people think about it?
we all have. We all have discussed it and we came to this conclusion.
No, so
And
Jazz, the Jazz, did you, for example, look at roadmap and give it a score, and then you decided that we want to go with doing time, or did you as a group already think that doing time is what you want to invest in and then give the scoring? Which one did you do?
First, we went point wise, Meher. First, we had gone through the roadmap. We discussed all the points about the roadmap, how each one is doing, and after that, we decided the score for each one of them.
All right, great.
Actually,
all right, so
it was a combination also, because we all of us felt very good was too good to be true. So, so the question was battle between health C and doing time. Okay.
And so, which one have you decided to invest in of the fund that you have?
Yeah. So before the conversation we had in the before breakout, had we known it's only idea, I would have gone for the health C. But with the information I got from Dan and others, that the team is important. Our decision has pivoted towards doing time.
Doing time, because you felt that the team was stronger in doing time compared to health C. Yeah. All right.
Also opportunities, business opportunities, and
is much greater.
Health C is too niche. Very good was too spread over, whereas doing time fits into the Gaussian, middle of the Gaussian.
Right.
Both team-wise and also the number of things they can do.
So because your scores are so close together, what made you, I mean, apart from the 2 point, was there any specific parameter because of which you said we'll go with doing time?
Future expansion. Future expansion.
So you're saying potential market size? Yeah, the market size of doing time is really big. Yeah.
Yeah, and also the team execution.
Yeah, team.
Of course, team is you've already said that. Dan, do you want to add anything to this?
No, I think I'm looking at the process, and let's go through everybody quickly, and then we can
come back. More. Yeah, great. Let's do Gayatri's team. Gayatri, your team is ready. Great. Okay.
I'm ready. Yeah.
Oh, you're ready. Abhinav, okay. Who's going to be talking?
Abhinav, are you there?
Hello. Yeah.
Yeah. Hi. Can you share the findings of the group?
I don't have it actually on writing.
Oh no, I have. I'm showing it. If you could just share what we did. You don't have to go through each and every score. You can just tell them what we decided.
Right. So we see that you've given the largest score, I think, just by 1 point difference to health C. So can we?
So decision wise, I think we have decided to put the money in health C and very good, and whatever they are asking, we are going to give it to them. That is the kind of conclusion we came on to. We are not going with doing time because of the key parameters. We had some concerns which we have noted down. First of all, the matrix basically which they were using to measure the engagement of the users is something we would like to have more clarity on. Same is with the definition of the conversion rate. Their team composition kind of was throw us off a bit because they didn't have any expert in that particular domain, and there are many giants who are in a similar space who can immediately pounce upon the opportunity. Some things you would like to have discussed with was new client acquisition strategy and actual competitive differentiation. So apart from that, I think healthy and very good, their scores already justify what we have labeled them as.
That's very fascinating. So you're giving the lowest score to the company that got the highest score in the last conversation.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Let's keep going. Let's see what the other groups think. Keep going.
All right. Gopal, your group. Thanks, Abhinav and Gayatri.
Hi. I'll just share the screen. So I think we were taking a lot more time to evaluate. Yeah. It was definitely a discussion, but we chose certain parameters which we thought are very important right now. The team execution capability, whether they're solving a real problem, there's a burning desire for the problem, and what's the market opportunity like.
So can you first tell us the score? Can you bring that up?
Or show us your screen? Can you do that?
Oh, I thought the screen got turned on. I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah. So the score for health C was Can you see it now?
Yeah, can
Yes.
you move towards the right, because we can't see very good score. It looks like you've given them 2. Oh wow. Okay. What?
So I think, you know, what we've decided, we're going to do this activity again together as a team in our next session. With our super mentor, because we needed more time, and I think there was an inherent inclination towards health as a as a segment, probably, you know, because there was a little bias because of the COVID, but we could have evaluated this better, and we probably needed to spend more time. We dropped very good because of the fact that we felt there's enough competition, and it's easily copyable.
So healthy is what you would go with. Is that what you're saying?
So we're going to put our 100%, whatever they're asking for. We're going to give 100% money to HealthC.
To HealthC.
Doing time, we were actually taking a call. How much money do we give it to them?
All right. Okay. Thank you. Farah, is your team ready?
Yeah. I'll just share my screen.
Yeah.
And so we did evaluate on a few parameters.
Sure. Anybody selected from your team to present?
Yeah. So Pranay will be.
Yeah. Go ahead, please.
So I'll talk about the process first. In our case, the way we did was, first we, without even scoring, we did give a couple of lines of our bias and thinking in some sense. Then we picked up a few topics to score on because we thought there wasn't enough time to score on each one of those. Our investment committee, we did realize that there were only 2 people who were debating a lot more, and others were it was a very, how should I say, we didn't do a great homework as an investment committee. And there was a bit of a lack of trust on the associates who created the memo, because there was this constant thought of, we need more information here and we need more information. So that's on the process bit of it. Finally,
that's very interesting and exciting to hear. And so one of the things I'd like to talk about, and we need to make sure we carry that to next week, is what questions didn't you get answered, and which categories here? And also, did these turn out to be the right categories for you guys to use to score? Clearly, in your case, you came up with a score. We came up with a decision first, and then you started justifying it by filling in these details. What would you think about doing this in a different way?
No, so I think ideally what we would like to do is to take more time.
Dan is not audible for me.
Okay, at least I could hear him.
Yeah, we can hear him, Abhishek.
So Dan, ideally what we'd like to do is to let each IC member first fill this up before a discussion, so that the internal biases and the free riding that happens is eliminated. And that also forces different viewpoints to come up, right? So ideally we would do that, is my opinion, if you ask me, right?
Okay.
And then we'll put the scores together and then debate, right?
And you have very good as your number 1, HealthC is number 2, and doing time is number 3. Would you invest in all 3 as a group, or one of them, or what?
So we decided to pick HealthC and very good to invest in. And doing time, we decided to drop. Primarily, HealthC was currently a much clearer need and a differentiated product. Very good was similar. The key risk that we did perceive in very good is the element of technology that they were partly going to outsource, and how does that impact, and then what value do they continue adding. Doing time, it felt like we didn't have enough information about the team, so both on team front and go-to-market strategy, we thought we weren't very sure about them.
So it's going to finally be HealthC and doing time?
HealthC and very good.
And very good.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Great. Ananya, your team, is that?
Yeah, I'll just share the screen.
Yes. Who's going to be presenting?
Senthil is going to present from our group.
Great. Go ahead, Senthil.
So we like.
Okay. So once again, I can see a comment there. Very good, not considered due to privacy reasons. Okay,
yes.
go ahead, sir.
So we recommend healthy and doing time. The reason behind that, healthy scored 42 mark out of 60, and their roadmap was good, and also their revenue model also good. They are having the good opportunity, and probably by teleradiology they wanted to develop some new concepts, and because of that the opportunity was good. And every year they in the pitch deck they told that every year every day 4 billion people get scanned worldwide per year, and because of that they have good opportunity. They can able to expand their business to tier 2 and tier 3 cities also. So the opportunity is good. So we decided to invest first in the health C, and secondly we plan to invest in doing time. It is somehow different from the other service providers in the same segment, same category, and they are trying to earn revenue through subscription. That is by the way of pay per post, and by transactions and ad. Their model also revenue model also good, and there is an opportunity of 35% growth, month to month growth. So investable in doing time also good, and we plan to invest both healthy and doing time.
Okay, great. All right, should we go to the next? Thank you. Naved, your team, yes. Who will be presenting from your team?
Nigank, I'll present.
Yeah, go ahead, Nigank.
So, it was Dan, you asked a very interesting question that what did you actually, did you like the company first or did you give the score first? I think we literally liked the company first, and it was very good because the primary reason is, and I'll give you 3 reasons for that. First one was they had fewer slides. In less number of slides, they were able to very clearly articulate the market traction. They say that you have 5 large corporates, you have already signed 100,000 users. Similarly, there are few points on traction. Second point which they highlighted was around how are they going to spend their money, technology, B2B strategy, business model. Even in traction, their business model was validated across different market segments. So that this is already working for them. And these are 2 positives. And absence of not having that market pie approach, where you start with you predict a market and then you say that we will have only 2% of the market and we'll be able to go forward. That thing was not there in this, and that worked positively for us because that approach, in my opinion, doesn't work. So because of these 3 reasons, we already formed the opinion that very good is a good investment, and that's why we are going ahead with it.
So are you saying that although you've given 42 and 41, very good is the one that your group would like to invest in primarily?
And you're only investing in one, correct?
Yeah, not in health CDAN, yeah.
Okay.
And also on a process, I would like to just add to from this team. These metrics are way too closer, on a scale of 1 to 5. So there were some questions around 2.5 or 3.5. 41, 42 doesn't make really difference on the quantitative aspects as is, right? So if the scale would have been on, say, 10, the difference is on like 3 versus 6 or 7 versus 4. Whereas 3 to 4 here on a scale of 5 doesn't really bring out that whole difference in opinion that we were getting.
Right. That's a good feedback. Maybe next time we can do the whole activity on a point of 1 to 10. And maybe you can try that like Gopal was saying in your mentor sessions also. If you had a scale of 1 to 10 and had more time to spend on then what would be the score and how wide apart would that then be?
Yeah, and also the numeric part, they were like, you can get only 30% or 40%, no 37, no 38% kind of thing.
Right.
So 3.5, 2.5 was also coming up.
Okay.
All right. Is that it, or we have one more?
We have one more group.
All right.
Ananya, Archie, whose group is left? Are we done?
Our group has already shared.
All right.
Okay. So, interesting set of conversations. I had a chance to just listen in on a few of them. And I noticed two things. One, some people and some groups sort of came at it from top down, meaning they said, I like this group, and therefore, I'm going to go through and explain why I like this group. And some people started filling out the details and then coming to the conclusion that they liked that particular investment. I thought that was really interesting. I noticed that there were differences of, what people focused on and what they thought about, whether they got hung up on roadmap or they went right to sustainable differentiation or market. And so I thought that was interesting. Any other just general observations that anybody would like to share? Unmute and just talk about what experience you had, what you heard from other people, what you learned.
I think it also depends upon the investment thesis of the firm, that what kind of criteria we kind of pick up. Naturally, some sort of criteria are more closer to us and are more closer to our own philosophy as compared to others. Despite whatever the ranking and the weightage shows, we kind of choose that. And like, for example, market traction, for me, it was like, okay, these guys are already getting market traction. So we know that I inferred that, team is also, then fine, because these guys are able to do this with limited resources. So for me, that was kind of a major point. So I think we gravitate naturally towards certain our own preferences and biases, probably.
Okay. Any other comments in terms of how this relates to you as an incubator working with your cohort?
So Dan, I just have something to add here. So I see that there was, that the relatability or the comparison that took place, where we're not really looking at each team so much in isolation. Maybe we did the first one, but as we progressed through the exercise and we looked at the second one and the third one, and then, so on, we are saying that it's not as good as the previous one, not as good as the previous one. So you are changing the score slightly so that it doesn't rank more than what you already judged. So you're not looking at it purely in isolation. So that's what happens when you see everything together, like a comparison. And I like your thoughts on, is that something that we need to take care of or to prevent, or is that okay?
Well, no, so this is a really important observation, because remember, you're working with your startups, with your entrepreneurs, and you're trying to upskill them and inform them and make them better at the specific tasks that are being evaluated by these investors, and also help them be a better investment, right? So this is a factor that if you hadn't gone through this exercise, you might not have thought of teaching your cohort. But what would you say to your cohort? Hey, you might think you're great, but you have to stand out, because they're going to be comparing you against 3, 5, 10, 20, 50 other companies. Right. So not only can you describe your roadmap, but why is your roadmap better than 50 other companies you don't even know? This is a great observation and a great outcome. Any others?
So Dan, would you like to actually bring out who really got invested and then have a discussion? That would
I thought we were going to hold off telling them who the companies were and who got invested till next time, just to keep them
next time.
Some of them didn't do their homework. So I really I know it's hard for you guys to get a chance to do some of the things we're sending your way, but some of the groups, people hadn't had a chance to look at these things. I really want to focus in on the process here. I want you to think about how you would use this process with your cohorts. Would you actually take them through the same process and exercise? How is it relevant for you at your incubator or accelerator, at what level? So I won't be mean. I will share with you, these are actual investment groups, investment opportunities that came to Unitas Ventures, one of the investment firms that I'm associated with in India. And they did actually invest in 2 of these 3 deals? Anybody want to guess which ones they invested in?
Healthy and
Healthy and
very good.
doing time. Doing
time. So everybody's saying the ones that they've selected that. Maybe you can.
I am sorry for the doing time groups. They did not invest in doing time. So they looked at it carefully. They just didn't have the right team and differentiation. They just didn't qualify through. But they did invest in very good. And they did invest in Health C. So Health C is actually 5C networks, and you can now go look them up. And they are doing well, continuing to grow. Very Good is actually called Better Place, and it's actually a group that I ended up mentoring, and they are doing very, very well. They are, raising a Series B at a very significant valuation uptick, almost 20 times the original investment, and they are growing well. Now, several people made comments about a Very Good, Better Place. And you brought up some very interesting concerns, because those are some of the concerns that we had at the fund in looking at them. And what happened was we determined that the things that were lower in score were things that we would bring to management and discuss and see if they were willing to upskill, to bring in new people, to make shifts in how they were operating. And one of the things that you couldn't get a sense of here is something we look at, and that is we look for what we call a teachable spirit, an ability to listen and adjust in the team. And the Better Place CEO is a very, very thoughtful, powerful, make stuff happen guy. And he understood and realized that there were some places that were scored low, but what was attractive to the fund was that he was very responsive. So there was a lot of engagement, a lot of involvement, a lot of re-looking at the business model and how to assess blue-collar workers and to put all the pieces together and create a revenue from that process. And it's an ongoing process that goes through that. So those are the results of this program. And we are, again, running out of time. So I would just turn it back to the group and say, any last thoughts and comments? And Meher, could you do me a favor and post the survey? And I'm going to ask each and every one of you, yes, please, to fill out the survey. Was this interesting? Was it helpful? Was this spectacular? Was it terrible? And by the way, if you think, I knew all this stuff and I didn't need this and I'm going to rate this not great, please give us feedback on why. We want to make sure that each of you are thinking of this, that this is worth your valuable time. So, any thoughts or input on this, we can make this better. We will change our programs each week to make it more poignant to the majority of your thoughts.
Yeah, and so just to add to, of course, it's the 0 to 10 is the scale, and 10 is the highest and 0 is the lowest. So how likely are you to be suggesting this session to others? And like Dan says, you can always reach out to us on the group and give us feedback also. Dan, do you want to talk a little bit about what we'll do in the next session?
I don't have a clue. Is it going to be fun?
Hopefully more fun than this times. Yes, we're aiming for that.
All right. So tell us about the next session.
So the next session, so I know everyone's really keen on starting off applying a lot of this into their incubators. And we're going to be doing some very interesting sessions on the incubator model canvas, where the model of your incubator as it stands today, and re-looking at it, maybe thinking about some facets deeply is what we are going to do. But before we get there, for next session, we thought to make it more contextual, we're going to be having a fireside chat with the investor from the ecosystem, from his perspective of investability, thinking like an investor, and what are they thinking of in these unusual times that we find ourselves, and how do incubators then engage with investors. So that's going to be happening in the next session, at least in the first 30 minutes. And after that, we're going to start digging into defining success for your incubators and going deeper into the models that you have. So that's what's coming up.
So two things. One, there, I don't know if you had a chance to see that I had a fireside chat with one of the founders of a investment firm. Did you see that little video? Did you see the Unitas partner there, Dave? He had some interesting comments. So if you haven't looked at that video, do take a look at that. And what I'd like you to do is think about questions. We're going to have another investor online with us. We're going to ask him some questions about how he sees the investment universe, what's going on with COVID, how he feels about looking at investments that come out of incubators. And so I want you to think now, and I want you to send us questions that you would like us to ask him or her about, how do you look at us and what do you want us to do? And what would make you invest in more of our businesses here in our incubators? So think about the questions that you want to ask, and we're going to have a little bit of a fireside chat and an opportunity to ask some serious questions. And again, this is a very strong, very capable, very experienced investor. Lots of opportunity to probe and see. I think it's very representative of what you'll see of a lot of investors.
Also, Dan, if I may add, we have Dave's video, Dave Richards, and video, which everyone's going to get access to. That's your discussion that you had last time. So everyone's going to have access to that as part of their post reads. Also, the 100 questions that you mentioned, those questions are going to be shared with everyone. So if you want to maybe talk about it a little, because we can discuss both these things in the next session.
Yeah, so what I'd like you to do is take a look at the questions we've put in this deck. We'll send you this as well, and the 100 questions. And I would just ask you to go through and review them. And I'll give a prize for anybody who comes up with 2 questions that are not being asked in those 100 questions that you think are particularly relevant to address in our market, in this ecosystem in India, both tier 1 cities, 2 and tier 3 cities. Are these the right questions to ask? What would you add to them? So please do take some time and review those questions. All right, so I'm still pushing our survey. Please rate. 10 means this was worth your time and you're glad that you came here. 1 means, what the heck was he talking about? So please make sure we know what to do better. And again, very specific suggestions on our style, our process, the material we're covering, and the relevance to you. These are things we need to know. It's really helpful. We had our Thursday open session. We had great questions that helped us think about how to do this session. So please come to our open session with an open mind and an open mic and ask questions so we can have more dialogue. It's really hard not sitting together in person.
Sorry, Dan, may I up that challenge and say that everybody comes to the open session, with the mindset of maybe disagreeing with what you're saying or what I'm saying or what we have as, our thoughts and process, and we can sort of make it more active and lively. So I'm encouraging everyone to disagree with us and ask us questions on why what we're saying is what incubators should do or that the ecosystem, requires. Putting you on a spot.
You guys can disagree with Meher all you like, and you can agree completely with me. It's perfectly fine.
Either ways, everyone's got to come with questions. Great.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Looking forward to seeing everyone again next week. Thank you, Dan. Thanks, everyone.
All right, and then please reach out to your fellows and to your mentors for additional questions. And you have my email, dan.kranzler@wfglobal.org. Send me an email if you have thoughts, questions, if you want to have a specific private dialogue. I will be reaching out to all of you individually to just have conversations and hear from you and share some direct personal interaction over the next coming weeks as well. So again, thank you all deeply. It's a pleasure to be able to help and connect and share and learn from you.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Dan.